Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome. This evening is a presentation by the Stoughton Schools leadership team, some of whom I have behind me here. I thought it was an opportunity for them to talk to you about their work personally. Dr. Urell informed me that he was going to speak this evening, and so I'm going to hand the floor to him for a couple of minutes before we begin the program.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for coming. My name is Erdem Urell. I'm on the school committee. I just wanted to welcome everybody for this evening that's designed for the school department employees to share with you the recent wonderful news. And our heartfelt congratulations go to Stoughton students for their hard work, determination, and dedication. Teachers did a wonderful job educating our children and helping those who needed extra help. And the administrators, which you see here, thank you all for coming and making a presentation, did a wonderful job working hand in hand with the teachers. I'm also very grateful to all Stoughton residents and town meeting members for their continual and enthusiastic support of the school budget. Dr. Rizzi?
So we have some wonderful news for you this evening, and that was part of the reason for choosing this time to do this presentation. We have just gotten our MCAS scores and accountability status from the tests that were given last year. And we are very, very, very pleased to announce that Stoughton has joined an elite group of districts in this state because we now have 4 out of 7 of our schools in level 1, which is the highest level that can be achieved in the accountability system. And that puts us with a relatively small group in the state. And all of our level 3 schools, we had one, are now level 2, which means that the entire district has risen a level to level 2. So we have a level 2 district and level 1 schools. Now, the kind of headline when the states released the scores was MCAS scores flat this year. So as a statewide trend, that's what they noticed. What we have found out since is that actually the number of level 1 schools has gone down. So there were 505 level 1 schools last year. There are 424 this year. So while quite a number of schools have lost a level 1 status, Stoughton has been able to achieve level 1 status with 4 schools this year. So while some schools are losing ground, for a variety of reasons, Stoughton is gaining ground. This is not a small achievement under any circumstances. However, we have during the last 5 years, as we've seen this increase and built for it, had an increase in the students that were in poverty, and we have also had a significant increase in the number of students who are learning English. And these two things contribute to students being less academically ready, and so a lot of work and effort and thought has to go into making up for some of the things that they may not have come prepared with. So reaching this success has been in spite of that, and we hope to continue with that trend. So how did we do it? These scores are the product of 5 years of work with a very high-functioning team of school committee and administrative personnel preparing a vision for the district and then planning how to make that vision come to fruition and then budgeting for that vision and then being consistent and patient and implementing that vision over time. And the other thing that is crucial to this sort of success is to have a strong leadership team. and I have brought some of our leadership team this evening. The leadership team consists of the principals and the assistant principals, our curriculum coordinators, and some other administrators in the district, so as to have a manageable evening and not take up too much of everyone's time. I've only brought 9 of them this evening. So there are some other members of our leadership team who aren't here, but they are also contributors. So we started in 2009 by creating a strategic plan. Everybody has to have a plan to start with. And we had some features in the plan. There are some folks in this room who were on that committee. Were you, Terry? No. Lynn Jardin was at the time. And there were about 35 people from the community of Stoughton. Joyce, were you in the? Oh, okay. So one of the things we wanted to do was expand curriculum to meet students' needs. We looked at that. We, of course, wanted to improve achievement levels, and we wanted to upgrade or replace existing facilities. We've made a great deal of progress on that, and we are also very pleased with the ability that we've had to expand technology that's available and the quality of the technology and updating technology for both the schools and the town. And we wanted to enhance intergovernmental relationships, and I'm very happy to say that we have had a tremendous amount of cooperation with the Board of Selectmen, the Finance Committee, and all of the folks who work for the town. We have a very, very, very strong partnership, all of us, so I would say that most of the tenets of the strategic plan have been met, and were met ahead of schedule. Now, there is a way that you attach what it is that you hope to do to your budget. And so in the 2012 budget, we created a world-class education plan, and this was to choose the things to replace that we'd lost in the recession and to add new things that we thought would be essential for educational change. One of those things that we were clearly focused on and that we're doing now and has had an impact is the extended school day for enrichment and for remediation activities. And even though there are only 3 subjects that are actually tested by the state, we knew that those things are a minimum competency test, and in order for students to really become expert at higher order thinking and to be well-rounded, creative students and to have all of the best opportunities that are available post-secondary school, that we needed to keep STEM, wellness, and the arts, and we have been able to do that through a very, very difficult financial period. We have continued to acquire advanced technology. Just as one example, we have smart boards in every classroom and teachers who really know how to use those things to bring the entire world into every classroom. They are no longer limited by a set of paper books, but they can bring any resource that exists on the internet and a bunch of other places into their curriculum, and they do. And we wanted to increase family engagement, and I will just like to thank Ms. Susan Cogliano, who was for several years the president of the STA. She worked very, very hard with me to get a parent engagement program off the ground. It is well and truly off the ground now, and that's the kind of thing that you see results from over a long period of time, not necessarily in the first year, but we are seeing results from it, and it's really taken root and thriving. And then we wanted to increase our global awareness for students, and so we wanted to add Chinese because all of our languages are Romance languages, and this adds a dimension to our world language program that also brings a different part of the world into our classroom, which is a part of the world that our students, as they leave us, will be interacting with on a more and more regular basis. And then the state came in and did a review of our district 2 years ago. And the state now requires a 3-year plan for improvement. So in 2013, we created one of those in conjunction with the district review. And addressing student needs through targeted interventions is related to our extended school day. And so is the provision of enrichment programs. And it's been very, very important to us over the last 5 years to implement a very thorough and rigorous writing program, because it is my true and personal belief that the thing that separates the good schools from the great schools is their ability to teach writing and their emphasis on writing as a study, because writing and thinking are so intertwined that as you learn one, you develop the other. And now we're going to look at some of the specific things that we have put in place. And I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Ford because we are coming into his specific area of curriculum and instruction. And so I'll hand it over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Rizzi. One of the things that we looked at a number of years ago was a number of different assessments that we had within the district. And we found that we had a variety of assessments, but not one consistent assessment that ran full longitudinal manner across the district. So what we looked at doing is picking up a single assessment we could use from kindergarten through 8th grade so that we could regularly assess our students, identify students that may be falling behind or might be struggling, and provide interventions to those students in a timely manner. So we weren't waiting until a student had already seen a plunge in academic performance before we interceded. And the first thing we put in place was Ames Web, and that's an assessment that we administer kindergarten all the way through 8th grade, and English Language Arts and Mathematics, and we do it 3 times a year. And what our principals will do is administer a benchmark assessment at the beginning of the school year, and what we'll look for is a student who didn't quite meet the benchmark goal, or a student that might have suffered a great deal of regression over the summer. And as soon as the year starts, we'll put in a targeted intervention so that student doesn't fall behind at the beginning of the year, but can immediately get some support to get them up to where they need to be. Once that intervention's in place, we then do something called progress monitoring, so we follow the student and retest every 2 weeks to gauge that student's progress. Once we get to the middle of the year, we repeat the assessment. We check all of our kids again across the entire district, identify kids that might need some additional assistance we put in place. And really what this allows us to do is ensure parents that nobody's ever going to slip through the cracks. No student will make it to high school or middle school without having been identified if they need help, and the help would have been provided. The second piece which we're putting in place, and at the end of this year we'll actually have it completely wrapped up, is benchmark assessments throughout our curriculum across all of our content areas, from kindergarten through 12th grade. The vast majority of those assessments are in place now, but by the end of this year, everything will be in place. We also have a system of common formative assessments, and what these are actual assessments that are benchmarked in our curriculum that teachers provide on a regular basis. It's not formal, it's not something where all the teachers in a grade level will provide an assessment on a given day, but it's an assessment that teachers will periodically give that's designed to give them information on how the kids in front of them are learning. That way they can target kids for interventions, they can adjust their instructional style, or they can go back and repeat a given topic or provide additional information so that they know that all their kids are learning and moving forward with the curriculum. And the last piece is the targeted interventions. And this is something which we've actually taken the time to fund within the budget. And you'll notice over the last 3 years, I should say that starting 2 years ago, we put in seed money so the principals could build targeted interventions to go along with their assessments. We doubled the funding for this coming school year. We're going to increase it by 50% again next year, so that as a principal enters a given year, they'll know throughout their cycle of instruction that at given points, the entire school at the elementary level or specific areas at the high school and middle school will have funds available to help kids that are in need. And it's a completely designed system so that, once again, no students are going to fall through the crack. Nobody's going to go 6 months without somebody checking in on their progress. And the school district will always be able to respond in a timely manner when a student's struggling or needs some additional help. Oh, progress monitoring. And the last piece is, although we have benchmark areas where we're going to assess kids and could provide interventions, the thing which I think is fundamentally different from in the past is once a student is identified for additional help, we come back every 2 weeks and we check their progress. So not only are we setting up an intervention plan, but we're going back and continually checking it to make sure it meets the student's needs, it addresses their learning style, we're actually hitting the things we want to hit. We know if the instructional strategy that we've decided upon to help that student's working, and if not, we can make the adjustment. And once again, we bring this child up where they need to be, and then the intervention can be removed, and the student just progresses with the curriculum like the rest of their cohort. All right.
As I mentioned before, I have brought some of our team to meet you and for you to get a little bit familiar with them this evening. Among the folks that I've brought are our 2 current curriculum coordinators, and the first person I will introduce is Dr. Mark Galligan, who is our curriculum coordinator for humanities. Dr. Galligan.
Thank you very much, and thank you for letting me speak to you about our wonderful MCAS ELA scores, and that's just one part of what we'll talk about tonight. One of our bright and shining stars as far as MCAS scores go is the high school. 95% of SHS 10th graders have scored advanced or proficient on this year's ELA MCAS. That's 6% above the state average. On top of that, no high school student failed the ELA MCAS. And that puts SHS, or SPS, the Stoughton Public Schools, as a total in the top 25% of all districts, school districts in the Commonwealth in terms of growth and achievement. Whenever I'm looking at MCAS scores, because I work with teachers, I'm always very focused on instruction. So I almost always go straight to the standards-based scores and say, okay, per grade level in the classroom, where are we hitting the target? Where are we above the target? Where do we have room for improvement? And again, at the K-5 level, and I'll talk a little bit about this in the next slide, where we've had a complete wholesale revision of our curriculum and a new curricular program put in place. We have a lot to celebrate at the elementary level as well. Stoughton outperformed the state most strongly in writing. As Dr. Rizzi said, it is also my very strongly held belief based on research and on personal experience that writing is the single thing that you can do to increase student performance, increase the complexity of student thinking. We are 7 to 8% above the state average. Some elementary schools go above and beyond this, saw between a 16 to 20% increase in their reading and language scores, or their adherence to the reading and language standards over their 2013 ELA MCAS scores. So that's a 16 to 20% jump in achievement. How do we achieve this growth? It seems pretty simple, but it's actually very difficult to do in practice. And that is to have a coordinated and cyclical program of doing the research, doing the writing, the curriculum writing, having professional development in this case, ELA and literacy, and modeling that for teachers. And of course, none of that would be possible without the financial resource allocations from the taxpayers from the town of Stoughton who have supported us. One of the reasons why I believe our achievement has grown so dramatically over the last 2 years, and especially in this past year, is because of our refusal to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on a program manufactured outside of the school district that claims to be aligned to the Common Core. And I've done my research on here, and those are claims. They cannot be substantiated. 2012 to 2013, we began the process of researching, as I was talking about, and writing a new literacy curriculum with specialists from the state, with myself being involved in that process, with other professional development providers. In 2013, 2014, last year, we field tested our curriculum with the teachers, used a variety of assessments to assess the quality of that. Again, with assistance from the state, from the Department of Ed, they helped us to assess our curriculum and edit the lesson plans. And also, as Mr. Ford was talking about, we crafted a number of benchmark assessments. These are things that we needed in order to assess our progress, our adherence to the standards, but also there's something that the teachers asked for so that they could have more formative assessments in order to see how their instruction was actually affecting student achievement. This year, we're field testing those benchmark exams. Those are aligned to the Common Core standards, and we are editing the performance assessments. Performance assessments is any assessment where you ask a student to do something. In this case, we are primarily talking about writing, and we are editing those, editing the rubrics that we use to grade those, and we are getting student and family parent feedback about those assessments. What's the cost to Stoughton? What's the monetary cost to Stoughton? Because of the Race to the Top grant and because of our participation and our being awarded the 738 competitive literacy grant, 96% of the research, curriculum writing, and professional development has been funded by the state or by the federal government. Materials, books, supplies, manipulatives, and technology have certainly come at a cost, and that has been provided through the generosity of the town of Stoughton and Stoughton taxpayers in town meeting. And now to join me was my colleague, Ms. Janet Sullivan, the STEM coordinator.
Thank you, Dr. Galligan. We heard a little bit about what's happening with ELA. I'd like to take a few minutes to talk to you about what's happening in the areas of science and in math. We refer to it as STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math. What you have heard from Dr. Galligan and Mr. Ford is that we have a very coordinated program of curriculum development, assessment, and instruction aimed at meeting the needs of all our students. And what the next two stats that I'm going to put up show you is that if a student participates in the curriculum in the Stoughton Public Schools, they will gain over many years through elementary, middle school, and high school the knowledge, skills, understandings that they need to compete well in the world and to do well on the MCAS exam, particularly the high school competency exam. You heard the ELA numbers. We have also good numbers in math. We have 83% of our high school students reaching advanced or proficient on the high school MCAS score. That's 4% above the state average. And we have 85% of our high school students achieving advanced or proficient on the science score, which is a whopping 14% above the state average. We have similar good news at the middle school. In math and science and ELA, our students are performing above the state average, 3 to 4% across all of those exams. And that success builds off of the work of all of the teachers throughout the district, from kindergarten right through the high school programs. One thing that we do like to focus on when we look at MCAS data are areas that need improvement. It's nice to celebrate the victories, and we have a lot to celebrate tonight, but each year we look at areas that need improvement. Last year we looked at 8th grade science and saw there was some needs there, and in 1 year the 8th grade science teachers and their students were able to bring their achievement scores up 9% in just 1 year. Similarly, looking at 5th grade math, one of the main areas that we find are achievement gaps in some of our subgroups. And I'm pleased to tell you that in the 5th grade math, we have narrowed the achievement gaps in almost every single subgroup. So what are our next steps in STEM? Well, we are facing a major revision of the science curriculum. A brand new curriculum is being brought to us by the state. It is based on a tremendous amount of inquiry-based learning, so there'll be a lot of hands-on activities coming our way. And in math, we are looking to increase the amount of instructional, differentiated instruction, so that we can offer all of our students the type of instruction that they need to meet their particular learning needs. We are running a number of initiatives in the STEM area. First off, in the last 2 years, we have had to revise all of the math curriculum to meet the new state standards and the Common Core state standards. And in the area of science, we had to revise these standards and all of our curriculum to meet the Common Core state standards for literacy. We have brought in a number of very high-quality programs, including the Envision Math program, which was written and developed by the same people that are writing and developing our PARCC assessments, so there'll be great alignment there. We've brought in Discovery Science Textbook to augment our science programs at the middle and elementary levels. And one thing that I'm very excited about is that we offer something for all of our students. Those that are struggling, we have in place many things to assist them. But for our students that are flying and are looking for something to enrich and challenge them, we have brought in a number of elementary science programs, particularly in the area of engineering, which is the main focus of our new science curriculum. And we have brought in 4 different programs to bring a little bit more of engineering, robotics, race cars, all sorts of activities for our young scientists. This year, in addition to the Common Core state standards being brought into science, we have, again, the new standards based on the next generation science standards. So that will be our main focus this year. And the math curricula will be focusing on getting our students ready for the new and very rigorous and very challenging PARCC exams. We do hope to expand STEM opportunities throughout the district. In areas, for example, we have a high school science fair. We are looking to expand that into the middle school. We have a very successful engineering team at the high school who competed well in states and, in fact, went on to perform very well at nationals. So we are looking to expand that into the middle school and many other opportunities in math and science. One of the ways that we have been able to achieve the success that we have in this school district is through the use of data teams and our system of assessment. A couple of years ago, Dr. Galligan and I were charged with bringing data teams to the Stoughton Public Schools. We trained all our teachers, and the reason that they have been so successful is those teachers saw the usefulness of this program, and their enthusiasm to get started in it is really what's made the difference. So what data teams are, basically, are groups of teachers that have time set aside during the school day to meet and collaborate, to share their best practices, and to develop and implement and analyze assessment data in order to address student learning needs. The system that we have created runs from K to 12, but we have spent a great deal of time with data teams, particularly at the secondary level. We've introduced writing toolkits, which are major pieces of writing across all of the curriculum. Our teachers have developed common formative assessments. And for those of you that are thinking, wow, our kids are really tested. Testing these days is not what you and I were used to. Testing these days is used to inform the teacher and to inform the student what they're doing well and where they need some help. So it's really used as a diagnostic tool. What we hope is that in the next year, we can expand data teams into the elementary levels. They have had minimal opportunities to engage in this type of work there. So we hope that with additional human resources, we can bring a little bit more data teamwork to the lower levels. And we'll talk a little bit about organizational structure that promote and expand achievement, and I'll turn it over to Dr. Galligan.
Thank you. So as Dr. Izzy was saying, and as we've all been saying, you have to have the leadership team in place, the people who are sitting here and sitting in the audience, and also the town to help you achieve these things. In each and every curriculum area, Ms. Sullivan and I chair steering committees. Curriculum steering committees exist for math, science, social studies, history, and world languages, and of course ELA. What do we do in steering committee meetings? We meet with groups of administrators and educators. In grades K to 12, we review MCAS or other assessment data. We discuss curriculum trends and necessary revisions to assessments and instruction. We provide updates to people. Primarily, Ms. Sullivan and I provide updates on professional development. We provide updates on how we and other teachers can provide teacher-to-teacher workshops, or how we can provide professional development. And also we discuss opportunities for external or outside of the school district professional development. And really, it's just a forum for communication. So all of this talking about assessments and all of these places where the plan comes together, it comes together in a sense with the curriculum in these steering committees. And they're also the organizational structure that we use for ongoing curriculum revision and review, because as we all know, things change rapidly. One of the other very important structures that Ms. Sullivan's talked a little bit about is the K-5 enrichment program. Last year we were able to offer four programs, 2 in science, 1 in ELA, and 1 in fine arts. And this year we have expanded that to 8 programs that we will be offering on a 5-week rotating basis throughout the elementary schools. 4 of them will be in science: rockets, catapults, race cars, and robotics. We'll be offering 2 in ELA, a creative writing workshop and a reading, writing, nonfiction workshop. And then 2 in fine arts, 1 workshop in visual arts and 1 workshop in performing arts.
Thank you. We've talked a little bit about the district-wide initiatives, the district-wide and town-wide planning that provides us with the resources and the map to get some of these things done. And you've heard about some of the district work. Our principals, I'm extremely proud of them. They're a spectacular group of educational leaders. They have become a stable group. We have had very little transition in our group of principals. This is exceedingly important to see something through from 1 year until the time that it actually takes for it to take root and show results. And so I wanted to give each one of them a chance to talk to you about how they've taken some of the district plans and then made them work in the very specific context of their schools, because all schools are different, schools' needs are different, culture's different, and there are different personalities in the faculty and so on. And so they have all taken these things and made them their own in a way that I think only they could describe to you. So I'm going to have them do it personally. And our first principal to speak will be the principal of Level 1 Stoughton High School, Miss Juliet Miller.
Thank you, Dr. Rizzi. So, good evening. Stoughton High School has been working over the past several years to align its curriculum with the Common Core, as was mentioned by a couple of the other speakers this evening. We are proud to have completed the bulk of this work, and over the next few years they will continue to review and revise this curriculum to ensure that it continues to meet the state standards, prepares our students for state testing, and prepares them for college and career readiness. Additionally, teachers have been creating common formative assessments, and these assessments provide rich data for our faculty to analyze. 3 years ago, we began the initiative of data teams, where faculty are grouped according to a common purpose to analyze data. So, for example, the Algebra 1 teachers all meet together to analyze data. They analyze data generated from statewide testing as well as common assessments. And this is really important work. It allows the faculty to identify areas of weakness within the curriculum, content that needs to be retaught, students who are struggling so that we may be able to provide them with additional assistance. And we will continue with this work over the next year and on. We continue to apply for and receive the academic support grant from the state. However, we restructured how we were operating this grant this past school year. The math, English, and science directors have identified or had identified and targeted specific students based on who had failed, who was at risk of failing, or who had scored in the needs improvement category of the MCAS, and provided them with additional small group services, which allowed them the time and space to be able to really focus on the areas in which they needed. Stoughton High School has also been providing its staff and faculty with professional development on differentiated instruction. Differentiated instruction is based on the premise that instructional approaches should be varied and adapted to the individuals within the classroom. This professional development has provided our faculty and staff with the tools and resources they need to be able to reach all students within the classroom. This work will be continued this school year as well. Here at Stoughton High School, I'm really proud of our school council. Last year's school council was made up of 20 individuals comprised of faculty, staff, our faculty, principal, students, and parents. They work tirelessly to identify the areas that the school needs to improve and develops a really strong school improvement plan each year that really lets us focus on the important work that we have to do and moves us forward in a positive direction. And speaking of moving us forward in a positive direction, I'd like to just leave you with a few things that we've implemented this year so that we can continue on this path for success. Stoughton High School has implemented a brand new schedule. This schedule provides the structure for our students to be able to take advantage of a well-rounded program. The 8-period schedule provides students with the time and space to take the classes that they need and the classes that they want. It provides them with the opportunity to take advantage of electives, which help enrich the educational experience, and it also provides them with the time to receive the support they need in the areas in which they may be struggling. The new schedule also allows for us to build in professional collaboration time within the school day for our departments, and so our faculty have been able to meet to discuss and collaborate about things like curriculum and instruction and best practices and common assessments and data analysis, etc. In this new structure, we've also been able to provide more support labs for our students. So this year, we are offering support labs in math and English, environmental science, biology, academic lab, and then a general support lab called REAL. We've been able to increase the number of these classes that we offer, so we are supporting more students this year in those courses. And lastly, we expanded our dropout prevention program to include grade 9. Focusing on our dropout rates and our graduation rates over the past few years is one thing that is accounted for in our current achievement status at the high school. So this year we have implemented a mandatory extended school day for grade 9 students who are failing 2 or more of their classes. And the extended school day is intended to increase their achievement so that they are building a strong foundation for a successful 4 years of high school. And we also expanded our alternative education program to include grade 9 students so that we are identifying those students earlier and providing them with dropout prevention ahead of time and much earlier in their high school experience. And lastly, I would mention that the Stoughton High School faculty is a very dedicated group of faculty who are motivated to continue to improve and are willing to do the work, the hard work ahead of us. So at this time, I'm going to hand it over to Mr. Colantonio to talk about the middle school.
Thank you, Ms. Miller. You can click. Okay. Good evening, everybody. Thanks for coming out. I am Matt Colantonio. I'm the principal of the Dr. Robert G. O'Donnell Middle School. This is my 3rd year as principal. I served there for a little while as an assistant principal. It's a wonderful school. There are so many wonderful things going on at the middle school. It would be impossible for me to mention them all in the 4 minutes I believe I have been allotted this evening. So I'm going to steer my remarks really specific to MCAS. So since the state did accountability and assistance levels 1 through 5, that was when I went back to the middle school, we have always safely been a level 2 school and always strongly striving to be a level 1 school. Very proud of that fact. Proud of the leadership team that you see before you this evening, proud of my dedicated teachers, and I'm really proud of my middle school students, the most tested students K to 12. We do math and English all 3 grades. So I sent 940 parent and guardian reports home this week. And now getting ready to do the online park exam. Now they'll do it twice a year in math and in ELA. So I'm always proud of my students simply for surviving middle school, to be honest with you, for getting through those 3 years. But really, they've taken the test pretty seriously over the last few years and performed very, very well at or above the state average in most of the categories that we measure. So the first thing that we do, which really help us to improve our MCAS scores, are data action plans. So data action plans are not a new invention, but we really use them at the middle school to target our improvement. So data action plans are done department by department. The ELA department will look at the spring of 2014 exam in ELA and identify question by question, strand by strand, question type by question type, where our students fell short. And then they will draft a pretty comprehensive plan with the leadership team in order to improve those things in the next testing cycle. The same thing will happen in math, and the same thing will happen in science. A couple of targeted improvements that really came to fruition in spring of 2014, mentioned before, our improvement across the board in writing. We really focused at the middle school on improving on open response questions. We found that our students were really, if they were falling short, they were falling short specifically on open response questions. So we really targeted that type of question for all of our students, and we saw a lot of improvement in open response questions in the spring of 2014. We also do targeted MCAS support outside the school day. So we will offer after-school remediation in MCAS, and now we'll offer park training. And this is also targeted. So we'll try to identify students who need assistance. They may have struggled in tests in prior years, and we want to offer that targeted assistance. But we also try to identify students who may have scored well, may have scored in the proficient range, and maybe they scored in the high proficient range. Maybe they were just a question or two away from scoring in the advanced range. So we'll try to identify those groups of kids as well and offer targeted intervention for them after school, so maybe we can raise their achievement levels from proficient to advanced or high needs improvement to proficient and kind of target our support that way. One of the big this is something that works at the middle school and something that is in the works at the middle school. But this year we are finishing a multi-year initiative on developing 3 tiers of academic support depending on need at OMS. So it's based on the Massachusetts tiered system of student support. I believe that is the MTSSS, if you're taking notes. But so this is tier 1 is high quality, differentiated instruction that is accessible to all types of learners in regular classrooms during the school day. That's tier 1 and everybody gets that. Tier 2 is you identify students who are struggling and you offer them academic support during the school day. That is tier 2. You target that support. So for us, it would be reading assistance for kids who are reading below grade level, math assistance for kids who are scoring below grade level in math. It might be an academic lab for a special education student, or it might be an academic lab support class for a regular education student on a 504 plan, or a regular education student who has demonstrated some struggles in an area. And what we really try to do is offer meaningful during the day support in a period where other students might have an enrichment class, band, or chorus, something like that. The third tier is after school, so we do have an extended school day at the middle school this year. We are targeting all 3 grades. Any students who have more than 1 F in their core academic classes, they will be enrolled in tier 3. Whether they like it or not, they will be enrolled in tier 3, and the goal of the extended school day is to get them back on track and passing in those classes that they were failing, pretty simply. And one of the big initiatives, we are in the 3rd year of what is a 4-year initiative to restructure pretty significantly one of our big special education models at the middle school. So we used to have in math and ELA a resource room classroom in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, and some of our lowest performing students in math and ELA, historically on the MCAS, but on really any assessment or any measure that we had, they were pulled out in years past of the math classroom taught by a math teacher into smaller groups and taught by a special education teacher. So we have restructured that program. It's a pretty significant restructure. It took an awful lot of work, and it took many years to do it. This is the last year. Next year we will have done away with the resource room, and the idea was very simple. We wanted to address the achievement gap with our special education students, and we wanted to do that by having those students be in the regular education classrooms for math and ELA, but in an inclusion setting with a co-teaching model that was effective and meaningful, and we thought that would pay great dividends not only in the classroom, but on standardized tests like MCAS and PARCC. And so those are just a few of the things that we are working with and working on at the middle school. So now I don't know who I'm going to turn it over to. Oh, sorry, one more thing. And then in general, the other thing that we're working on at the middle school is fostering grit. So this spills into MCAS, and it spills into the classroom, and it's all over our building. If you walk around, you will see our light encouragement for kids to have some grit. So it's a nice way to say be tough, and it's really about perseverance. So we have found that all of our students who struggle, no matter what their student group is called, or if they're tall or short, boy or girl, they struggle on MCAS and in the classroom because they don't persevere. They might see something that's challenging or something that they think is above them that they don't quite understand, and they kind of give up on it. So one of the things that we really try to do is foster grit, and we're really hoping that message kind of translate into student success at the middle school. And that really is my last bullet, I think. So, yes. So yes, now I'd like to introduce my colleague, Mr. Bonner from the DAW.
Thank you. At the DAW School, we are the DAW School Dragons. And I tell you that because we are a community of learners. Our dragons include our students, our staff, our parents, families, extended families, grandparents, aunts, uncles, everyone in our community. And we use them all to move learning forward throughout the school year. I wanted to tell you about a few aspects that we have in place. Some have been in place and some have been developed into the next level for the next year. And the first one is about professional development. Professional development is incredibly important in order to affect school improvement. And we've advanced our professional development coaching model this year with moving from a model where our Collins consultant, a writing consulting company, comes in and models for teachers to a coaching model where they actually teach side by side with the teacher. The professional development has been in the field of writing, but that's because, as Dr. Galligan had said, writing is transferable across all of the subject areas, and it's a great indicator of intelligence and moves learning forward. So our first day of coaching took place just the other day, and it involved math, and it was great because it was a writing lesson during a math lesson, but the skills being taught could be applied during English language arts, reading, science, social studies. So moving forward with that model will definitely help foster improvement and improve instruction and the teaching and learning as a result. In addition, we have before and after school academic support classes. Before school, we have a wellness class as well as a computer enrichment class, and we also are offering remediation classes. These classes are offered to students, as you had heard, as targeted assistance. We use our assessment data in order to identify students who would benefit from some targeted instruction on specific skills and specific standards that we've determined by collecting the data and giving assessments and doing progress monitoring every few weeks after the program starts. So those programs are running year-round this year, which we're very excited about. In grades 3, 4, 5, we've already started one program, and we'll continue several more throughout the year. Also, this year, teachers will be meeting in professional learning communities. All of our classrooms are learning communities. A professional learning community is a little bit different. It's what we call our meetings with grade level teachers. We also include reading teachers, special education teachers, specialists, everyone who's involved in our community. And these PLCs, professional learning communities, meet and thoroughly analyze the curriculum, instruction, talk about best practices, analyze data, look at student work to make sure we have consistency across the grade level. We also use them to look at vertical articulation, so teachers from the lower grades can talk to the grade above them and see what the expectations are so that we know where students should be at the beginning and end of each grade level. We're continuing our work with data teams, as mentioned, 3 times a year, where we look at reading assessments in order to regroup students and level them also for targeted instruction. So that's where students meet and are placed in a group where they can get that tiered instruction that they need at their level. We also use that as an opportunity to push students to the next level. We may pick out a few students each time because these groups are fluid, push them to the next level and try to extend their learning so that they can experience that individual improvement. Common planning meetings take place regularly, and that's where teachers at each grade level choose to meet with each other and with specialists so that they're in sync with each other throughout the school year with the curriculum. Everybody's doing the same thing with their own style, but they're following the curriculum and staying on pace throughout the school year. School-wide math, this year we had a few developments in our school-wide math incentive programs. We wanted to put a little punch into it and developed a program. It's a lot like a video game. Facts are the foundation for math. So we have a Fact Master program that we're just starting to put in place where students can achieve at different levels and move through the levels as fast as possible so that we can keep moving them up even when they go beyond the levels of whatever grade they're in. We have 5th graders who have already progressed through all of the math levels. Our other school-wide math program is our math boot camp, which we've been doing a few years now, and that's a targeted instruction period where teachers have developed the data action plan, as you heard, based on MCAS results, and our data action plan has identified standards from the Massachusetts curriculum. And during this math boot camp, the teachers, I guess it would be called intense instruction on math. We focus just on those math standards and make sure that they're taught in a variety of ways that are very interesting and that students are able to grasp those because they've been identified as areas in need of support. And finally, along with the teachers and everyone else at the school, staff, parent support and home involvement at the Dawes School is very high. We have excellent attendance at our PTO meetings. There are often parents in classrooms helping out throughout the year, and you can see them in the halls and taking work home with them. And I think going back to community, it takes everybody working together to be able to affect improvement and have our students achieve at the highest level. So we're optimistic that's what we'll be doing this year, achieving at the highest level. Thank you. I think I'm introducing Ms. Jardin.
Thank you. I love an opportunity to talk about the Gibbons School. So I'm going to start off with our commitment to excellence. So as you heard from my other colleagues, that we have data teams in the district, and our commitment to excellence is that when we meet with data teams, we're looking at AIMSweb data or MCAS data, and we're looking to see where our students are struggling and what we can do to support them. And even though MCAS is only given in grades 3, 4, and 5, grades K, 1, and 2 also look at those standards and kind of see what do they need to do for their students to help prepare them, whether it's common vocabulary, whether they're modeling what the expectation will be when students get to 3rd grade. Everybody owns a part of the commitment. Team planning that includes reading and special education staff. The reading teachers across the district meet once a month, but we also have our reading teachers and special ed staff meet with our grade level staff. So at least once a week they're meeting to talk about what the needs are in that grade level with specific students and seeing how they can adjust the practices that teachers are using to help support students and to help increase their achievement. Staff who reflect on practice and try different approaches. We talk a lot about thinking outside the box. Last year we were in a situation where we really had to think outside the box. How could we get out of that situation? And staff were very willing to come up with different ideas that would have included meeting with students before and after school, doing before and after school programs, addressing students' needs, and trying to actually challenge some students who needed a little extra. Let me see, professional development partnerships. These are throughout the district, but this we had support for math, ELA, and writing so that we have common vocabulary across grade levels. That way when students are moving through the grade levels, it's not always something brand new as they go from 3rd grade to 4th grade and so on. Phonemic reading instruction to classroom curriculum. Phonemic reading instruction used to be taught in isolation to students who had difficulties with reading, and it was foundational that could be brought back to the classroom, but there never seemed to be a connection, like how can we take that further? How can we add it into fluency, and how can we add the comprehension piece and bring that isolated activity back into the classroom and connect it to what the students were doing all day. So last year we did put that together, and we will continue to do that again this year. Kurzweil is a program that students can use on the computer. It's actually is a program that reads text to students. So a student who has difficulty with reading and fluency may not necessarily have difficulty with comprehension. So Kurzweil, we can get to the bottom of what they really know without that stumbling block of having them stop-start while they're reading. Kurzweil is also an accommodation on MCAS, and this year we had one student who actually took the MCAS using that Kurzweil accommodation and was very successful at it. So we will continue that as well. Parent commitment and support. We required a big support from parents this year, being able to bring students in at 8 in the morning and altering their schedules, or having to pick up their students at 3 or 3:30 in the afternoon. So the fact that parents wholeheartedly did this and were on board with us was tremendous, and it really gave a great boost to the students. So those are just a few of the highlights. We also do several of the other activities and initiatives in the district, but I didn't want to monopolize the whole evening, so I'll leave it at that. And next, Faye Palilio from the Hanson School.
Good evening, everyone. Well, you know, I thought that when we were given 3 minutes, that's what we're going to stick to. So obviously, we need to talk about that. I prepared 3 minutes, so here we go. I would like to talk first. The first couple bullets are weekly special education staff meetings with myself and our monthly grade level meetings. As you've heard from previous speakers, we get together, we collaborate. We look at student progress, we look at best practices, we look at strategies, what's working, what's not working. I then take that information away from those meetings and I go to other grade levels and or we share that information at the staff meetings, which we meet once a month at. The retired teachers working with small targeted groups during the day. Now, this is one of those things that in the middle of the night, I don't know if you guys can sleep all night, but I know I can't. And in the middle of the night one night, I had one of those aha moments because I'm thinking to myself, who is out there that is going to be able to come in during the day, collaborate with staff, and work with an individual student or a small group at any given time? Aha, the retired teachers. So about 5 or 6 years ago, I called at that time 3 retired teachers and said, would you be interested? And they said, absolutely. So in they come. So they started doing that. Now, some 5 or 6 years later, I'm up to 6 retired teachers. I have 1 retired teacher that is connected with every grade level, K through 5. They come in for 2 hours every week. They work with a small group of 2 or an individual student that was identified back at our initial PLC that Mr. Barner talked about. We had one in September, and we're going to meet again in 6 weeks with the grade levels, the retired teachers included, the specialists, the reading specialist, the special educator, and talk about whether these practices, these strategies are working. If they are, wonderful. If not, then where do we go from here? Because we are thinking about moving every child forward. So the retired teachers, I can't say enough about. I'm very lucky to have them work with us. The MCAS conferencing and MCAS Data Day. Actually, MCAS Data Day happened today at the Hanson School. We have, again, I know that this has been mentioned by previous speakers, we have the ELA group and we have the math group. We spend time looking at the MCAS data. We dissect it. We look at common strands. We look at any sort of theme, and we talk about what the strengths are and what are the areas that we need to work on. We come up with a data action plan. Tomorrow we're having our staff meeting, and both groups will be presenting at our staff meeting both the math and the ELA MCAS action plan. And, can I just go back to the MCAS conferencing? That takes place in the spring, and we've been doing this now. We're going into our 8th year of doing MCAS conferencing in the springtime, where we have substitutes come in, and at a grade level, whether it be 3, 4, or 5, the teachers work with their own students in their classroom, either individually or in a small group, and they really target, they know them the best. I mean, we're talking now, we're into, the end of February, the beginning of March, so they really target those areas where the student needs just a little more help to solidify the skills prior to any sort of testing. And the final is our math and literacy nights. We are going to have, for our Hanson School parents, we're having a math night. I believe it's November 5th. More information coming out. And a family literacy night will be November the 20th at 6 o'clock. So there's more information coming out to that. And I think I made 3 minutes. Thank you very much. I'm going to turn it over to Mrs. Maureen Mulvey from the South School.
Thank you, Mrs. Polio. Good evening. As she said, my name is Maureen Mulvey, and I am the principal of the South Elementary School. First off, bullet number 1, a committed staff willing to raise expectations and to support each child to reach new growth every year. That's our motto. So with that, we have had the utter thrill of being a level 1 school 2 consecutive years. So when we began our year together last year, when we realized that we were level 1, I let the teachers enjoy it for about 5 seconds, and I said, sustainability is the key now, or keep moving forward. Also, something unique, and I don't want to be redundant because many of these initiatives we share in common as a team, and I'm just picking out some things that are unique to the South School. If you were to enter the building at any point, you will always see integration of specialists within the classroom. So that may look like the phys ed teacher doing small group activities on scooters with kindergartners, gathering up the tens blocks to make a new 10, to recompose numbers. You may see a music teacher working with the 5th grade science teacher in the area of sound energy. So at any given point, all of our staff are working together to move students and see our achievement soar. Another unique program is a homework help, which is run by Stoughton High School Honor or AP students. They come in 4 afternoons a week, and they work with any students who are willing to stay the extra half hour after school so that they can get started on their homework and to get a little review from high school students. Also, as we all do, data-driven selection for the students who are in our before or after school remediation programs or in our Tier 3 support. Mr. Colantonio did a brilliant job explaining the 3 tiers of academic support, and I think what's unique to the South School, Mrs. Palilio reaches to the upper end of the age, I reach to the lower end, and we have a wonderful working relationship with Stonehill College. In fact, this semester we have more than 8 students working with us in various capacities, including the before and after school remediation. So they're education or math majors or English majors. So we've bonded that relationship, and it keeps on growing and improving. Also, something that is happening for the 2nd or 3rd year is our box, which is building our kids' success. It's 2 times a week at 7:30 a.m. I believe that Ms. Jardin alluded to the fact that we couldn't do this without parents, so it's the parents who bring in the students and change their work schedules at 7:30 in the morning, or they pick up at 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock for the enrichment programs. So this is something that it's 2 extra periods of gym, and what child doesn't love gym 2 extra times a week? And finally, our commitment and focus on writing and literacy using the district-developed lessons, which were aligned to Common Core state standards. Our goal last year, that was my own professional practice goal for student learning, as well as the school improvement. One of the goals was to push up the achievement of students in writing. And what we used as a measure was the 4th grade long composition. And what we tried to do was to improve, and we certainly did. We had an average of 6 5/10 in topic development out of 12 possible points in 1 year alone, with all of the professional development and all that we do as a team with our staff. We went up to 2 points, increased by 2 points in just 1 year in topic development alone. So we were pleased with that. So our focus met with success with the results. So with that, I thank you, and I will turn the microphone over to Mrs. Margaret Morgan of the West Elementary School.
You're welcome. Thank you. At the West, we can start. How are you? I am Maggie Morgan, Principal of the West, and welcome, and thank you for listening for us for so long. But I wanted to talk about our school culture, which we've established. I don't even know where to begin with our school culture. We're so proud of it. In the past couple of years, we've established a culture that really supports our motto that every student counts, and how important that is to our school and to their learning. We have a dedicated staff that not only believes strongly in academic rigor and high expectations for all students. I'm referring to my notes so I don't forget, if you don't mind. But supports the emotional well-being of our students. And we're all in agreement that our students cannot continue to learn unless they are emotionally healthy. And that leads to our Happy Fridays. Our Happy Fridays not only support the emotional well-being, but we celebrate our achievement each week. We start our day with music and a message of encouragement and support, but most of all, celebration, not to forget that. Again, my colleagues have already talked about collaboration teams that meet for data analysis and common planning each week, so I won't go into it any further. But we also have that time where our specialists, our Title I staff, our ELL staff, along with our grade level teams can meet and examine the data, plan common instruction throughout the grade levels. We started something last year where we added a block at the end of each school day that allows for teachers to do differentiated instruction, not only to remediate and reteach for those students who may not have caught instruction at the beginning of the day, but also to enrich those students who need the time to go on and stretch themselves further. Okay, our extended day support programs, we all have them. We've talked to them, before and after school programs. And again, without the support of parents, they cannot work. Parents and our teachers, we have a really dedicated staff. 90% of my staff work on those extended day programs, give extra time before and after school to our students on a regular basis throughout the year, and that'll continue again this year. Our summer enrichment program that now includes students from all schools throughout the district. It's not only a fun time for students, but prevents regression throughout the summer so that they can start their school ready to go. And our Title I and ELL staff members for extra support. We were very fortunate to have reading specialist teachers, math special teachers, and 4 ELL dedicated teachers, plus a coordinator in our building that helps support all students with their achievement throughout the school year. I think that's it, because everything else has been addressed by my colleagues and done well. I know it's not easy. Everyone spoke to, but I will talk to Dr.
Thank you very much. So we'd just like to wrap up now. I can't reiterate enough how incredibly proud I am of these people and our other administrators that were not here this evening, and our staff of dedicated teachers, and our students who work incredibly hard, and the parents who support us in the work that we do. So the Stoughton Public Schools are moving in the right direction. And we've gotten here through 5 years of planning, through budgeting for that planning, for implementation, consistency, over a period of time of implementing a vision. Making educational improvement in a large district is something like turning a battleship. You don't just do it in one swift move. You have to think about it a long time. Education in many ways isn't rocket science. It's way harder than that. And there are so many different elements, and so many of them are related to human beings and are relationally based, that it just takes a great deal of time and effort over time. And this group of folks that you see here, we would not have gotten to this place if they were not essentially driven by work. And we all are. And we are going to use everything that has been built to continue to go to yet another level. And some of the things that we now know work, we will apply in other areas. Some of the areas where we have targeted and focused, we'll keep those things in place, and now we can target with even more focus some of the things that still remain to be done, and there are many of those things. And over the course of this journey that we've been on, we have had many partners in success, so I want to make sure to acknowledge all of them, certainly the students and their families, the faculty and staff. It's the teachers who do the work in the classroom, our leadership team, those who are here tonight and those who are not with us, the school committees from the last 5 years that have worked with us to develop the plans, the vision, and to help with the budgeting. The finance committee, who through bad times has supported us. They've listened to what we've done, they've believed in us, and they've provided a recommendation for the money for those things. It absolutely cannot be discounted. We also have the town government who supports us in many different ways, in ways that we're able to work together to support education and us to support them. Particular thanks to the town meeting members. We have had, since 2008, not the greatest economy to work with. They've had faith in us. And as much as we possibly can, we've told them what we're going to do, and then we do what we say. And they have supported us all along the way, and that is never, ever to be taken for granted. And then the taxpayers of this town, I mean, people in Stoughton are extremely frugal, and we have a great deal of gratitude for the fact that they have been willing to support us and feel that the work that we have done is a good investment. And I hope we've demonstrated to you tonight that it has been a good investment and will continue to be a good investment as time goes on. So thank you very, very much for coming. There's a great deal of information in the PowerPoint, but if you'd like to review it again, you can look at it on our website, which it will be available perhaps as soon as tomorrow. And we are all going to stay here for a few minutes. For any of you who would like to ask us any individual questions, we'll be happy to entertain them. And thank you very much for coming and listening to what we consider to be the most important thing in the world. Thank you.